So we know with a rhombus, it has all four sides congruent. Now we've got our picture. So what I want you to do is I want you to draw your diagonals. So go ahead, now that we've got our picture, draw your diagonals. So go ahead in here, draw your diagonals. So once you get your diagonals, it does look very much like a kite here. Now, with your diagonals, what you're going to find out is when you draw your diagonals here with a rhombus, is that all of these diagonals come out to be perpendicular. Everywhere right in here, where they're going to touch, right in here, they're all going to turn out to be perpendicular. In other words, they're going to turn out to be 90 degrees. So I'm going to write that right here. Will, is your watch talking?
Apparently it is. I don't even know how to turn it down.
Well, that's not
if
good.
it talks, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm going to put in parentheses here, 90 degrees. So what that's telling you, like I just said, is that where they are meeting, here in the middle, is that they are forming these boxes, these right angles. So you end up with a right angle right here, this one's a right angle, this one's a right angle, and this one's a right angle. So every one of those is turning out to be 90 degrees. So where before we had our 90 degrees in the corner in the rectangles, now they're here in the middle where the diagonals are intersecting. So they're moving in different places, depending on what shape you've got. Okay? Any questions about that one? Okay, go ahead and draw one more of these pictures on the other side. So this is going to be 6.16. So we got another kite here, whatever you want to call it. It's a rhombus. So draw one more here on the other side. Doesn't matter how big, how small you draw it. It's not going to matter. Go ahead and put your diagonals in. Now, in this particular problem, when you do your diagonals, they are going to bisect the opposite angle. Okay? In other words, what it's going to do is it's going to bisect. What does bisect mean?
Split it in half.
Cuts it in half. It's cutting in half your angles. So when you draw a line here, it's going to cut this angle in half. So you're going to have the same exact measure on each side of this diagram. Same thing over here. Same thing down here. Same thing down here. Every time you draw a diagonal in a rhombus, you're going to have the same measure on both sides of that line. So if one side, the angle is 32, the other side of the line, the angle is 32. So let me go ahead and write this real quick. So we've got diagonals, bisect. I'm just going to say each angle. Okay, so it's going to bisect each angle. So of course we know bisect means it cuts it in half. So what you get is this angle is going to be the same as this angle. This angle is the same as this angle. So we know that these two angles, they are the same. So if one of them is, like I said, one of them is 42, the other one is 42. It does it on both sides, and it does it on top and bottom.
So does it go side to side?
What do you mean?
Like the diagonals are the
And
same.
in a rhombus, it's going side to side and
Right.
top to bottom.
Okay.
So these two are the same because you got it going across and you got it on top and bottom. So these are the same. So it's cutting each angle. When it draws that diagonal, it's cutting each angle in half. So we're going to use some of this information in a second. So you're going to have to remember that when you have a rhombus, if they use the word rhombus, you got to know immediately that when you see that diagonal, it's going to cut the two pieces in half. So if they tell you that this whole angle is 90 degrees, what does that mean each piece is?
90.
No. If the whole angle
45.
is 90 degrees, that means each piece is 45. Okay, because it cuts it in half. So if I said this whole angle over here is 60 degrees, what does that mean each piece is? 30. Okay, so you got to pay attention. If they tell you the whole thing is something, then you got to know that you got to half that, and you immediately know what each piece is. So, let's use this and let's actually look at a problem. And we're going to go down here to an example. So go ahead and draw another rhombus, just like the other two. Go ahead and put in your diagonal lines. Okay, so I've labeled this. So in this problem, we've got F, G, H, J, and K is here in the middle where the two diagonals intersect. So I've already got my picture. So here is my picture. Now, what I do know out of this is that the measure of angle FJH is 82 degrees. So if I know the measure of angle FJH is 82 degrees. First of all, where is that? That's at the very bottom. FJH. So that's telling me it's this angle down here. So if this whole angle down here is 82, what do I know about each one of these? They're 41. So the whole angle is 82. But each piece here is going to be 41. So I'm going to put that in here. So I know this piece is 41. And I know this piece is 41. Because that makes up the 82. That's what I just told you, that you've got to know. If they tell you the whole angle, you've got to be able to have it. So that's what they told me. Now, what else do I know about this rhombus?
That,
Okay, all the sides are congruent. I do know that. What else?
Therefore,
the top of G is, both of those are 41 too.
Okay, well, let's stick to the bottom because that's what they're going to want me to deal with. Well, what about where they intersect? What do I know about where they intersect?
90 degrees.
They're 90 degrees. So let's stick to this part because that's where we're going to stay as far as what they want me to solve. So I know, based on what I was told here, is that all of these angles in here are going to be 90 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and put my right angles in here because I'm sticking to the bottom half. So I know both of those are 90 degrees. So I know that either in what they gave to me or in what they told me based on what a rhombus is. Now, what they want me to find is the measure of angle KHJ. They want me to find KHJ. Where is KHJ?
On the right.
On the right side.
Okay, KHJ, and find my pen. KHJ is going to be this little angle right here. So I need to find this one that I just colored in blue. I need to find this one. So, how am I going to find that one?
Add 90 plus 41 and subtract it by 180.
That's exactly right. A lot of these things that I've already learned are not going away. I still know that a triangle adds up to 180 degrees. So I know this is 90, I know this is 41, so if I add these two and subtract it from 180, I know what the missing piece is.
Miss Olga,
Yes.
why don't you subtract the 90 from 41 instead of adding?
The 90 from 41.
Or why do we add?
Why don't I add 90 to 41?
No, I'm saying why are you adding 90 to 41?
Because I need to know all three of these, this one, and the blue one, whatever it is, have to equal 180.
Okay.
Because every triangle, all the angles in the inside have to equal 180 unless they tell you otherwise. So if I already know two of them, I can add those two together, subtract that from the total, which is 180, and it's going to tell me what the missing piece is. Which is what we did back in chapter 4. So if I take the 90 plus the 41 and I add those two together, what's it gonna give me? 131. So if I subtract that from the 180, what's it gonna tell me my missing piece is? 49. So that's what I'm looking for. So if I know anything, if they give me any angle, I automatically know these are 90 in the middle. So if they tell me anything about these outside angles, I can do this on any of them. Okay? Yes.
Are you always gonna have to, split them up, like 82, how you cut that in half? You always gonna have to do that?
Not necessarily. You might. But you gotta know, the whole point is that you gotta know they are the same. Because what happens if they tell you that this angle is 36, but they want you to find something in this triangle? You have to know that this piece and this piece are the same, right? So the whole point here was that you had to know that these two were the same, so you had to be able to have it, right? So if they say, okay, that this is 36, but I need you to solve this over here. And you say, well, I don't know anything about this triangle. Well, actually you do, right? You know that if this is 36 and this is 36, and you know this is 9. So you may not always have to have it. They may give you one, but you gotta apply that information to the other one.
So in that situation, you'll put 90 plus 36?
Yes. Yes. So instead of having to half it, you just gotta move it to the other triangle and use it. Okay? So it could be both situations. It's just the fact that you have to know what the deal is with each angle. It's either you're gonna have to half it like we did here, or simply say use the same measurement in the next triangle. Okay, does that make sense? Because if I know either the whole thing, I've got to half it, or if I know one, then I can use the same measurement in the one next to it. So don't sit there and say I don't know anything. You got to be able to apply it. Okay, we are going to use another rhombus. So I'm going to draw another one here. This time we're going to deal with the outside of the rhombus instead of the inside. Okay. It is labeled the exact same thing as it was on the last one. So it is still F, G, H, and J. We're not worried about the inside because we're not doing angles. We're worried about the outside this time. This time we know that GH is X plus 9, and we know that JH is 5X plus, that's supposed to be minus 2. So it's 5X minus 2, and we want to find X. So now, we need to apply what we know. So, what we know is that we know
All sides.
that GH is X plus 9. So that means this side right here. Okay, so this is our X plus 9. We know that JH, that's this side down here, is our 5X minus 2. just said it.
The all the sides are correct.
That all the sides are exactly the same. So every side is congruent. So if this side is congruent to this side, which is congruent to this side, which is congruent to this side, then what's the problem that I'm going to be setting up?
We're setting them equal. to
I'm just
each other.
gonna set them equal to each other and solve. Because I know these two are equal to each other because they are congruent. So all you gotta simply do is make an equation. This says x plus 9 equals 5x minus 2. Or you could have put the 5x minus 2 first, it's not gonna matter. And solve for x. Whichever order you put them in is not gonna matter. So if you subtract, I'm going to move my 5 because I have it in the back. So if I do that, it's going to leave me with negative 4x plus 9 equals negative 2. So now I'm going to move my 9. So now I'm going to subtract 9. So now I've got negative 4x equals negative 11. Now, when I divide by negative 4, what happens? Am I going to get a whole number? No. Now, they will tell you, they will give you some information, you know, like I told you on the practice quiz, to round. In this case, they don't tell us anything, but when we divide it, do we get a decimal that continues on forever? No, we get a decimal that actually ends. So what is our decimal? 2.75. So this one actually ends. So we know that x is just 2.75. It's not like it's 2.13589 and blah, 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 it keeps going. It actually ends. So we don't have to round it, we don't have to do anything because it ends on its own. Okay, so any questions? So as long as I know that the angles are exactly the same because they're cut in half, as long as I know that every side is exactly the same, I should be able to do this. Now that's only for a rhombus. Now, I want to do another rhombus and then we should be able to move on to a square real quick. So draw one more rhombus, because this one is a little bit different in how I've got to solve it. Go ahead and draw your diagonals, because I'm going to need those. So this one is labeled the exact same way again. So it is F, G, H, J, and K is in the middle here. Now all they're going to do is tell you that FK is 5 and that FG is 13. They want you to find KJ. So, if this is all the information that I have, I need to be able to use this to solve. So, I know that FK, that's this part, from here to here, this part is 5. I know that FG, that's this outside piece, is 13. So I know those two pieces. Now, what they want me to find is this bottom part, KJ. Now, if all my pieces are up here, how am I gonna find this down here?
That's where you use the split in half thing?
Well, what do I know about the diagonals? Okay, so does that mean,
They split it in half.
that means they are the same? We learned that before. So just like everything else, that the diagonals are cut in half. Top part is equal to the bottom part. So I know that this piece is equal to this piece down here. We already know that. We learned that lessons ago. So if I can find KG, I automatically know what this piece is. Since I have no numbers down here, I need to work on this. Now, how can I find KG? This is where it's a little bit different. You're going to have to use this little thing called the Pythagorean theorem.
Yay.
I hope you remember it. Because remember, what kind of an angle is this? That's a right angle. So 90-degree angle. So remember, Pythagorean theorem is for right angles. So we're going to have to use this thing called the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Now, C is really the only one that matters. Which one is C? C is which one?
The right angle.
The hypotenuse.
C is the one straight across from the right angle. This is C. It's always the one straight across from the box. So when you find the box, you draw a line straight across, that's going to be C. So this is 13. So that's 13 squared. Now the other two, I don't care where you put it. So somebody may say 5 is A, somebody else may say 5 is B. It's not going to matter because they're on the same side. Does not matter where you put it. So I'm just going to say 5 is A because usually A is the smallest one. So I'm going to say 5 squared plus B squared equals 13 squared. Now all you got to do is solve.
You can subtract 13 squared minus.
Well, what's 5 squared?
25.
25. Got to square them first. 13 squared is 169. My pen's wanting to die now. So we got 25 plus B squared equals 169. Now you can subtract. So subtract 25 from both sides. And now B squared equals what? 144. Now, they didn't ask me for B squared. This is technically just B, not B squared. So how do I get just B?
Take the square root.
Take the square root. Remember that little button on your calculator that looks like a little division symbol? The long division symbol.
It's 12.
So if you take the square root of both sides, you should end up with B equals 12. So they're telling me that this piece is 12. So if this is 12, what do I know about KJ?
It equals 12.
It is also 12. So you may have some of these mixed in. I don't know. But if you do, and it is a right angle, which it is, you're going to have to know what to do. Don't say, I don't know.
Was that the last rhombus we're doing?
That is the last rhombus, yes. Now, squares. Really, there's nothing to a square. So this shouldn't take but just a second. Now, you know what a square is. Okay, so square, is really just again, a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides and 4 right angles. So if you get a problem that's got a square, then you pretty much know that every side is going to be the same and that every corner is going to be a right angle. And then from there you should be able to solve. Now, if it is a square, and if you draw diagonals, what would you know about the diagonals? If it's a perfectly square box,
They 90 degrees.
what would the diagonals be? Would they be different? Would they be the same? What would they be?
The same.
They would be the same too. So if one diagonal is 10, the other diagonal should be 10. And of course, again, just like everything else, they should be cut in half. When they bisect, all that good information still applies. Okay? So, really, there shouldn't be anything really hard about a square. So all you really have to know is that you got this. And then you can go from there. Now, I really don't know what I'm going to do because I have not had a chance to look at squares and see if there's even anything on squares on IXL and rhombuses. So I will have to look and I will have to see what they've got to know what you're going to get. Now, I know I've got a workbook page, but I don't know if I'm going to give it to you. So I'm going to have to look, I'm going to have to see what I've got, and then I will have to decide which one you are going to get. And then we'll go from there. So any questions at this point? Anything I need to go back over, anything I need to re-explain, anything before I give you the last couple of minutes? Okay, make sure that you know, because right now I'm pretty much set on giving you a quiz tomorrow on everything that was on that practice quiz. So we'll probably do that first before we do anything else. So make sure that you are prepared for that. Make sure that you have all of that stuff taken care of. If you got any questions, you can email them to me during the day. Now, once I go home, I'm probably not going to look at it. But if you got a question, you can send it to me in Remind, and I will probably see it. But not if you send it in an